just before midnight, my mobile screen illuminated with a harsh reality, glowing sharp and unforgiving in the dark. It was a text from my mother. The decision is made. You are removed from this family unit. Stay away from all future events. No phone call, no hesitation, just immediate electronic banishment. Moments after, my sibling, Bella, liked the text, treating disloyalty like a group activity. I didn't shed a tear. I didn't beg for answers. Instead, I flipped open my computer, navigated to every utility, every subscription, and every loan I managed for them, and began hitting the cancel button. By 3 minutes past 12, their entire world began to flicker out. Before I reveal the fallout, comment down below where you are listening from. It helps to know I am not the only one who had to cut the power on their own kin. When the monitor faded to black, the quiet inside my flat felt denser than the bustling Chicago streets below. The refrigerators drone, the rhythmic tick of the hallway clock, they all sounded like silent observers. I sat motionless, palms resting on the laptop, my pulse calm in a way that was actually terrifying. The rage wasn't screaming this time, it was surgical. For decades, I had been the silent partner in their illusion of stability. The mortgage that avoided default. That was my signature. The auto insurance that magically renewed. My bank account. Every overdue notice, every crisis. Every sobbing plea starting with, "We are short this month." I had resolved it. I convinced myself it was duty, affection, the moral high ground. Tonight, I recognized it was simply a membership fee and I was the sole sponsor. I scanned my living space. Everything was meticulously organized, labeled and sorted, my defense mechanism. After growing up in absolute turbulence, I constructed structure from the noise. However, tonight, that structure weaponized itself against me. Every archived receipt and automated transfer felt like documented proof of my own stupidity. I used to believe love was about stamina, that if I remained silent and continued providing, they would eventually realize I was worth keeping around. My mother had fed me guilt like it was a staple diet, tiny spoonfuls administered daily. My sister, Bella, it was the prize pony, loud, charismatic, and immune to repercussions. My father had learned to exist by remaining outside the blast zone. I had learned to exist by ensuring the blast never happened. I recall the first instance I covered their property tax. They were facing immediate foreclosure, voices trembling over the receiver. I was 26, barely covering my own lease, yet I wired the funds instantly. Mom labeled me her saving grace. I trusted her. Then came the electricity, the vehicle payments, Bella's university fees, $18,000 annually for 3 consecutive years. It is strange how the saviors always end up financing the inferno. I pressed my palms to my eyes, trying to conjure remorse, yet found only absolute focus. This wasn't a mental collapse. It was an audit. I wasn't losing a family. I was gathering exhibits. The last time I saw them face-to-face was at a holiday lunch 6 months prior. Mom had critiqued my outfit in front of guests. Bella had boasted about a work trip that I knew was actually a vacation at a luxury spa. Dad cracked a joke about how my career focus scared men away. I smiled through the roast chicken and swallowed the insults. That dining room had been a tribunal. I just hadn't realized I was the defendant. Now, bathed in the blue light of my screen, I launched a fresh spreadsheet. Date, cost, justification, evidence. My fingers danced across the keys, knowing the route by heart. Row by row, I was reclaiming years of stolen dignity. Outside, the urban skyline pulsed through the glass like distress signals. Somewhere out there, my relatives were sleeping deeply, assuming I had accepted my expulsion. They had no clue I was merely warming up. By sunrise, my device was a gallery of ignored notifications. Dad, Mom, Bella, each name glowing like an artifact of a life that once held meaning. I ignored every single attempt. The gap between us had mass now. It was leverage. The initial text I received wasn't even from my mother. It was Bella. "You are being dramatic. Mom didn't mean it literally. Can we chat?" Chat, as if that term hadn't been weaponized years ago. I scanned it twice, realizing there was zero apology present. Merely control disguised as worry. I deleted it and returned to my data entry. Every row I completed was a memory converted into arithmetic. The specific date I paid Bella's tuition, the bank fees from when Dad took my credit card for fuel, the month I skipped my own rent to secure their housing taxes. Every cent was a narrative, and every narrative concluded identically, with me sweeping up their wreckage. At 9 a.m, Mom finally emailed. "No salutation, no regret, simply, we must discuss what you have done. You have caused a disaster. Contact us instantly." Not a syllable about her previous message. No reference to the banishment. Just a mandate to resume my position, problem solver, buffer, peacemaker. For the first time, I viewed it plainly. The family I believed I was rescuing never desired rescue. They desired an administrator. I replied, I am occupied reconciling ledgers. I suggest you do the same. I pressed send. The phone rang immediately. I let it vibrate until silence returned. By midday, the anxiety began to metastasize. A text from Dad. Can you clarify the situation with the power company? Your mother is panicking. Another from Bella. Why are you acting like this? You are destroying everything. Destroying everything. As if my lack of compliance was the offense, not their treachery. I opened my banking portal, scrolling through a decade of transfers, and felt an internal pivot. The shame that had been etched into my skeleton began to dissolve. It wasn't rage anymore. It was calibration. Cold, intentional, sharp. By 3 p.m, they had attempted every strategy. Fury, begging, nostalgia. Mom even published a vague social media status. Some children forget their roots once they earn a salary. Arrogance precedes the fall. It garnered 40 likes, mostly from distant kin who hadn't called me in years. I didn't engage, but I captured a screenshot. That was the instant the balance shifted, not just in the ledger, but within my soul. For the first time, I grasped that silence could be a tactical weapon. At 6 that evening, I dialed Sarah. She had been my confidant since university, now a domestic litigation lawyer specializing in complex disputes. I believe I am finished playing the banker, I stated. She didn't request context, simply answering. Then begin cataloging everything. We will make it formal. That evening, I combed through every digital correspondence, every transaction, every bank wire, tagging and storing them like exhibits. The more I sorted, the lighter my chest felt. By midnight, my inbox resembled a legal archive. And for the first time in my existence, I wasn't the one being judged. By the second evening, the stillness developed a cadence.
The sort that precedes a hurricane.
My computer illuminated the dark room. Each browser tab was a portal into years of unappreciated generosity. Housing, coverage, education, levy. They had constructed their luxury on my suppression, and I was finished financing their tranquility. At 11 o'clock, Sarah phoned. Is the file complete? Every invoice, I replied. Every deposit. Excellent. Then you aren't requesting repayment, Sophia. You are mandating it. She instructed me on exactly what to draft. A formal demand. Dispassionate, objective, devastating. Subject, overdue obligations, family account. Body, this correspondence acts as official notice for reimbursement. You have 30 days to commence a payment schedule before legal proceedings are initiated. No vitriol, no intimidation, just factual commerce. When I clicked send, the ensuing quiet wasn't vacant. It was electric. 12 minutes later, the initial reply arrived. Dad, let's be rational. Mom, how can you treat us this way? Bella, you are delusional. You are wrecking this family. I gazed at their text, stable, disconnected. Every message rang with the same tone. They weren't stunned by their actions. They were stunned that I had ceased participating. At 3 minutes past midnight, my device started flashing like a police strobe. Calls, texts, voice messages. The terror had ignited. Restore the electricity. Mom screamed on a voicemail, her tone fracturing. We will resolve this tomorrow. But tomorrow was already here, and they were the ones standing in the shadows. Sarah's email appeared seconds later. Flawless. Forward all responses to me. We are filing a demand letter at dawn. I reclined in my seat, watching the cursor pulse over my name, Sophia. It struck me how frequently I had signed that name to rescue them on leases. Agreements, checks. Every autograph had been a vow. Tonight, it transformed into evidence. At 1 a.m, another text from Bella. You believe this makes you powerful? You are cold. Cold, that word used to sting. Now it felt precise, essential. My empathy had been a commodity they had overdrawn for decades. I poured a glass of water, my grip steady for the first time in ages. This wasn't vengeance. It was bookkeeping. Before signing off, I opened one final window. The property title. Their residence, the one they boasted about finally possessing, was still registered to me.
I had never transferred the deed, out of prudence, out of intuition.
Now that intuition was leverage. By daybreak, Sarah had forwarded the initial draft of the legal warning for my approval. She concluded it with a sentence that made me grin. They stated you were removed from the family. Let's formalize it. Outside, the street lamps blinked off as the sun emerged. Inside, my screen shone with a different variety of dawn, one composed of data, figures, and silent justice. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel insignificant or erased. I felt accurate. The morning the documents were mailed, the world appeared standard. Cafes unlocking, traffic flowing, sunlight crawling up the shades. But inside my flat, it felt like waiting for a jury decision. Sarah had dispatched the demand packet to each of them via certified post and email, every invoice, every cent, every signature appended. At 9:12, my phone vibrated. Dad. He never initiated calls. Honey, he started, that practiced gentleness coding every vowel. This is escalating unnecessarily. Let's keep this internal. I allowed the pause to lengthen until he stumbled. It is already internal, I replied. It is just finally recorded. He drew a short breath. You are making your mother ill. No, I said, voice unwavering. She made herself ill. I simply stopped buying the remedy. I hung up. By noon, Mom's post appeared on social media. A paragraph of victimhood wrapped in religious verse. We raised her with affection, and now she attacks her own blood for currency. Greed precedes the fall. Beneath it, Aunt Carol commented, firstly, repulsive conduct. I would be mortified. Then, for the first time in ages, other handles appeared. Cousins, distant uncles, people I rarely spoke with. Wait, didn't she save your home from the bank? Isn't she the one who paid tuition? The narrative split open. Their facade fractured. At 1:46, an email landed from Sarah. Subject, additional findings. Attached was a PDF containing screenshots and bank statements. Sarah's memo read, verifying inheritance withdrawal of $40,000. Signature discrepancy. Forgery probable. I read it thrice. The renovation, the new kitchen. The dates matched perfectly. My mother hadn't just emptied my checking account. She'd stolen my grandmother's trust fund and forged my autograph to execute it. By evening, Sarah had already filed a restraining order on the funds. The magistrate froze their assets before supper. That night, my parents attempted every avenue. Emails, messages, voicemails, all repeating the same loop. It was a confusion. We will reimburse you. Do not destroy the family. The irony made me chuckle audibly. At 8:32, the buzzer sounded. Through the peephole, I saw my mother, eyes swollen, gripping a manila envelope. Sophia, she whispered through the wood. Please, we are losing everything. Do this for your sister. For Bella? I asked. Her lip quivered. She is still your blood. I opened the door just a crack to slide the paper waiting on my desk into the hall. A duplicate of the eviction warning Sarah filed this morning. You will receive the certified copy in a week, I stated. Her face went ashen. You wouldn't. I already did. She gazed at me, hunting for the previous version of her child. The one who repaired, pardoned, financed. That version was deceased. Goodbye, Mom, I said, and engaged the deadbolt. I didn't watch her depart. I just stood in the silence, inhaling the conclusion of an epoch. By the following afternoon, the disaster unspooled like a mechanism. The electricity was cut. The mortgage warning hit their email. Sarah forwarded the title confirmation. Secured eviction granted, probate court alerted. Then came the digital storm. Another update from Mom. She is taking her parents to court. We are devastated. This time, the comments offered no pity. Aunt Meredith, typically reserved, typed a single sentence. You mean the error where you faked her signature? The comment section went silent. Hours later, my mobile vibrated again. Unknown caller. New York region. Hi, this is Amy Patel from the estate probate office, the voice announced. We are managing your late grandmother's assets. We discovered irregularities in the payout list. I gripped the countertop. Irregularities? Yes, Ms. Johnson. It seems your name was struck out and substituted. The handwriting does not align. The renovation, the granite counters, every puzzle piece clicked into position. Thank you, I said. Please forward everything to my counsel. By midnight, Sarah confirmed the filing for inheritance fraud. Another freeze, another stratum of reality exposed. In the ensuing days, the truth percolated quietly through the extended family. One by one, relatives contacted me, cousins I hadn't heard from in a decade. They borrowed from us as well. They never repaid a dime. You aren't insane, Sophia. Every text was a small life raft in a deluge I had been treading water in for years. When the official court decree arrived, Sarah phoned. They will attempt to reach out again, she cautioned. Do not respond, even if they apologize. She hesitated. Especially if they apologize. The next morning, my inbox detonated again. Mom's new strategy was contrition. We forgive you. Please forgive us. Forgiveness as a weapon. The most ancient trick. I forwarded the message to Sarah and archived the conversation. By the week's end, the house was no longer theirs. The deed, still in my name, sold within days. Sarah wired the profit to my account. Watching the deposit notification appear felt nothing like vindication. It felt like equilibrium. Bella tried one last time, a final text. You won. I typed back, nobody wins when family becomes a casualty. Then I blocked her number permanently. That evening, the city lights flickered steady and indifferent. I sat by the glass. The same pain that had once mirrored every sleepless night I wasted rescuing them. Now it reflected something novel. Me, solitary but weightless. Somewhere out there, they were learning to survive without me propping them up. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel guilty for allowing them to fall. By the time the legal proceedings finalized, weeks had evaporated into a strange, peaceful routine. Sarah sent a brief email, case closed, repayment contract executed, probate corrected. You are free. The word felt alien. Their assets were locked, their home sold, their liabilities legally attached to their own identities for once. The silence that used to torment me had transformed into tranquility. I no longer woke to crisis. Calls or requests for just one more loan. My mornings belonged to me again. I purchased a modest condo downtown. Nothing majestic, just pristine walls, natural light, and zero ghosts. A friend, Evan, helped me relocate. He didn't say much, just handed me a mug of coffee and smiled like he comprehended what liberty tasted like. The first night there, I opened my old budget spreadsheet, the one where I used to track every dollar I spent on them. I stared at the figures for a long moment, then highlighted the rows and hit delete. Watching the data vanish didn't feel like a loss. It felt like an exhale. Rumors circulated that my parents were renting a tiny unit outside the metro area. Bella was working a retail job she despised. I didn't feel gratification, just distance. They were finally inhabiting the reality they had built without me sustaining it. That night, for the first time in a decade, I slept until dawn. No shame, no static, just the consistent, quiet rhythm of a life that finally belonged to me. A month later, I visited my grandmother's burial site. I placed tulips, her preferred flower, on the stone and whispered, "It is finished." The breeze felt like a response. Peace isn't loud. It is quiet, consistent, and earned. If you have ever had to walk away from the people who broke you, you understand this. You are not isolated, and you are not malicious for selecting your own sanity. If this narrative resonated with you, check out the Family Betrayal playlist for more true accounts like mine. And please, subscribe to the Revenge Story podcast and hit the bell so you never miss the next chapter.